Basement.
Dal basement, from 30 Seconds to Mars, è passato Jared Leto. Hi man, how you doing? How are you doing?
You know, I have to say, brother, you have a good head of hair. Wow.
Wow, but
I
you
mean,
too,
no,
you
no,
too.
No, bro. Let me just say,
No.
this is a mess. No, but your hair.
Wow, thank you,
You have
man.
the thickest head. Is it true? I mean, is it true? Look at this hair.
Yeah, thank you.
You have the thickest head of hair I ever seen. You're never gonna
Wow, but no, it's
go.
an honor. It's
if
an
you
honor.
live to 300 years old, you're never gonna lose your hair.
Yeah,
You
and
look good.
then I can tell you my secret. I
Yeah.
can tell you my
Okay,
secret.
good. After, I'll tell you my secret.
Yeah,
you tell me yours.
Share our secret together,
Wow.
please.
Yeah, man.
It's a great honor. It's a great
Thank
honor
you.
to have you
Well,
here.
Thank you
really,
for having me. I appreciate it.
Do you know some Italian words?
I do. I know a beautiful Italian phrase, a very poetic phrase. Che cazzo fai? That's
Usually
my-
we learn always the bad words.
That's it.
Usually.
But to me, it sounds beautiful.
Told about your mother and your father. What did your mother think when you and your brother start with the music?
Well, she was very encouraging.
Yeah?
She was very encouraging for us to do something creative with our lives, which was very brave of her. You know, when you have children, it's easy to want them, it's probably easy to want them to do something that you think might be safe. But she always encouraged us to follow our creative voices, you know, to follow our creative dreams. And so we owe her a real debt for that encouragement. She also exposed us to a lot of creativity, a lot of art. I mean, I love the cat costume because it was just an idea that I thought of, and I wanted to bring a smile to people's face.
Okay, yeah.
But you know, it's because I like it because it's ridiculous, but it's also creative, and it was done really well. The people that built it they did a great job.
Okay.
I mean, it looks exactly like the real cat. And the process of putting it together, you know, how big should the eyes be? How big should the head be? Should the belly be fat or skinny? Should the cat? All of those little decisions, they fascinate me.
Basement.
I always say I don't drink. You know, I don't smoke. I never took drugs because my job is really associated to bad things.
Like an athlete.
Yes, it's very important because when you do 100 gigs a year, traveling all around the world, jet lag, you need to train as an athlete.
Usually 100 gigs in a year?
Yes.
Okay, it's incredible. From different around
yes, you need to travel very far, but I love my job. I love playing music everywhere, but you need to train for that.
It's incredible. Now in Italy, in this day, when we saw your videos, you play the song of Gala.
Yes.
There is a big meme in Italy.
I saw it, of course, last year
with this song. Do you remember when this meme started?
Yes. I played in Padova in Villa Barbieri.
Yeah,
it's an amazing club, open air, and I was very surprised because I didn't know about the Pioli. I don't know even who it was.
You never met him?
No, I never met him. And I played the track. It's a remix I made for my DJ set, my own version of Gala, and I played the set and I played the track, and I always expect them to say "Freed from Desire," and they say Pioli is on fire, and I was very surprised. And everybody shoot. You know, he's taking the phone to shoot your reaction. But I was very surprised, and I don't know who was Pioli. So I said, "What are they singing?"
Your face. We remember your face.
They don't understand English, or but still this year it's all the same. I played last year in Cromia, in close to Bari.
Yeah,
and it was the same. 4,000 people singing Pioli is on fire.
Tonight, maybe.
Yes, of course.
I think but the same thing.
Italians, they love him?
Yeah. Not every Italians. AC Milan
not the
supporters.
Napolitan, not Napoli.
maybe less. But when we have fun, it's not a problem. What do you think about your music today?
It's really hard, my friend. It's really hard making music. When I start music in my kids' room, I never expect to do a worldwide hit. So after 10 years, I made Love Generation, World Hold On, and Roxy's Party. It became so big that these 3 tracks became me, actually. people, they want to hear always the same track. When I enter on stage, there is always a phone saying play Love Generation. At the first second, I start to play. They don't expect me, I mean, maybe Far l'amore also.
Yeah.
But so it's really hard for me to do another hit in the same style. So I prefer to go back to the underground, making mashup of different traditional music I love from Brazil, from Jamaica, from Africa. I always loved to do this combination of sound, house music with this type of music. Yes,
it's a good moment for you for your
yes. It's a very good moment because EDM is dead.
Yeah.
EDM is
dead.
Yeah, it's dead. I mean, this sound, very aggressive, very masculine. So we all come back now to a little bit more techno or something more underground. There is no house music in the airplay at the moment. I saw the charts in Italy, mainly Italian pop songs and hip hop, which is their moment.
What is the secret for to survive through
always
the
do
years?
what you feel. I always follow my feelings. Sometimes I fail, sometimes I have success, but you need always to follow your your goosebumps, what your feelings about music. Don't follow any trends because you are always in second.
Okay.
You need to be the leader in your music.
In this moment, the social media has an important role in the music business.
More than important, because it's more important for my followers to see me naked in my bathroom than to listen to music.
Your last post is very funny.
Yes, actually,
I saw on Instagram your last post. It's very funny.
So I do 500,000 views on that, and then when I post something on music, it's only 25,000. So it needs to be a combination of different things, I love.
For example, TikTok changed the world of music.
Yes. It's a shame, but it works this way.
You need to do what do you feel?
Yeah, you still have to do I always produce the music like I did in 25 years ago. So I don't want to change my production.
Okay.
It will come back for sure to something big. But I had an amazing moment of 5 years of big hits, and EDM came, and then more artists came. I'm very happy to still be here on the scene, being requested to play all around the world. Fisher last year did a remix of World Hold On, and we are 100 millions of views on the platform. So this track has 15 years old, and it's still it was the most playing song by all the DJs around the world last year. So when you create classic good music, it's always there.
Yes.
And I didn't follow any trends to create Love Generation. And
what is your main hit in your opinion for the people? World Hold On.
Yeah, World Hold On. Yes. In Italy, Far l'amore is very strong.
Yes.
Because to meet Raffaella was unbelievable to meet her.
Yeah. Do you remember when you met her for the first time?
Yeah, in Roma for sure. In Roma, I actually, my first demo was a bootleg.
Okay.
I sampled the original, but I played it when I played it in Italian. My DJ friends, Italian friends, they said you can't sample that. It's very cheap. But I said, look at the reaction on the dance floor.
Okay.
And they talked to me about Raffaella. I didn't know how big she was. And I said the only way for me to be credible, to have credibility on the song, it's to do it again with her. So I contacted her. She was amazing, and when she saw me, she said, "I never did anything since 10 years in music, but I love your vibe. I want to do something with you."
Wow!
So I was very, very
great
proud.
Artist
with a big heart. Yeah, big heart.
This song became a soundtrack, a movie, an important movie.
Yeah, like Grande Bellezza for
sure. Grande Bellezza.
I won an Oscar, my friend. Not my music, but actually Paolo Sorrentino made this song very, very big around the world.
Yeah, but you changed the figure of DJ.
Yes, I think I was the part of all the DJs. Of course, we were a few, but Eric Morillo was there too. But we changed the image of the DJ. We became artists and really.
And cooler and cool artists.
Yes. It became very cool to be a DJ.
Yeah, you looks like a model, an actor, a DJ.
Yeah, I mean, before that, I told you it was very associated to drugs, to that kind of thing. But also the home studios, became very big, and you could create your music at home.
Yes.
So it changed a lot. Because you could create your beats, and then your beats went to the radios in all the Albertino.
Yes.
He made a lot also for house music. So you could be played by Albertino and then made a hit. He was the first to play Gym Tonic back in the days.
Yes.
In 1998.
Wow.
So when you do a club track and a DJ on the radio play your track, I mean, all the listeners can listen it, and then you didn't have Shazam or anything, but you could buy the CDs or the album of the artist. But
Yes.
back in the days, the radio were the only way to promote your music.
Do you have many friends in this world?
Not really. In this business, not
In this
really.
business,
no,
sorry.
not really.
Not really.
No,
Yeah.
they
It's
have
difficult.
a big ego, my friend. Big
ego.
Big ego. Yeah, I never forget
Yeah.
where I'm coming from. Never. Because I'm coming from Paris, from a little place, and I was in my studio, in my kids' room, and I always try to remember when I create music, in which state of mind I was when I was young. To stay genuine, to stay true with myself.
Yes, it's the secret. Maybe.
Yes, I think.
Because you are authentic
Yes,
person.
yes.
Your music is authentic.
Yes.
And have you some advice to young DJs?
This is an advice we can give them.
This is the first advice.
Stay authentic, and also never follow anyone. Never try to copy Sinclar or Guetta or try to be inspired, but never copy them, because you will always follow. You need to be leader in your style. So find your own personality in your production, and you will succeed for sure.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what is the future for you for the club culture?
Me, I always try to now, because there is not a lot of good tracks on the market, because a lot of young kids now, they see the fame, with the DJ. They see the money, they see the cool vibe and the fame. They don't see how hard is it to build an image, and to build something strong around your characters, around
the
your
image
name.
before the music.
Yeah, they all want to do a hit very, very quick. It's because of the socials, for sure. Huh?
Yes.
It's happening the same way with the influencers all around the world, and this is a new business, a new job to be influencers, but they don't influence anybody.
Yeah.
Just try to be original, to be yourself.
Basement.
When you became popular in the world, one of the most things that impressed me that it was that you was a soldier before. How this contaminate your life now?
I think I feel lucky to have had the experience, because the music business is pretty soulless. It's about things that aren't really real. It's about what is cool, what is hip, popular, of the moment, and those things I don't think concern me, because I dealt with real life before. I dealt with life and death, real experiences, the difficulties humans have of life, of their ambitions just to be happy, to be safe, and so that's where I write songs about real human emotions. I don't write songs about my fast car. I don't write about a fancy watch. I write about what it is to be human, and that's the lesson that I think I got from the army. And also, once upon a time, I traveled in a tank, and I went to different countries, and now I sort of do the same job. I travel, my tank is a bit bigger, it's a tour bus.
It's similar.
And I go to slightly safer countries, but the setup is the same. Whereas before I had soldiers, now I have a band. And there's definitely a little bit of a similarity.
But maybe the discipline is very important.
Yeah, I think my tour manager is very much like a sergeant major in the army, and there's definitely similarities.
How many years you done like a soldier?
I was six years in the army, exactly, and it was a good education in the world, because I come from a safe country, and so to be in another country where security, safety, your life isn't guaranteed, but also to understand the perceptions are different on both sides. In Kosovo, where I was served in the war, there were Serbs and Kosovar Albanians, and both were fighting against each other. But if you spoke to individuals, their perspective made sense. The reason they were upset and angry made sense on both sides, but because they couldn't understand each other, that was their failing. And in many ways,
what's going on in the world today now, isn't it? With Israel and Palestine, their reasoning is this. It makes sense, but the fact that they can't understand and be civil, see the other person's perspective, is where they are failing.
Your first song was born in that period when you was a soldier.
Yeah, I think I wrote half my first album when I was a soldier, but I had a view. I was going to leave soon, so some of those songs are very much about what it is to be a soldier. My first album, a song called No Bravery, is very much about, I suppose it's the lack of bravery of the politicians. It's always politicians who are dividing us, because the individuals, whether they be a Palestinian, an Israeli, Serb, or a Kosovo Albanian, Ukrainian, these are good people with compassion and humanity. And it's all, when we get into gangs, into tribes, into political parties, into nation states, that's when we start being divided, afraid of each other, and unable to see the other person's perspective.
Okay, but when you lived in the tank, you give with you a guitar, or
I did. I took my guitar
in your room with other soldiers. You sing.
Well, we slept outside. There was no room.
Okay.
We slept outside, but I took my guitar and I strapped it to the outside of the tank.
Wow.
I wanted to keep it inside, but there's no room. I would have had to strap a soldier to the outside instead. So the guitar was on the outside, and then in quiet moments, I'd bring out a guitar and play.
Yeah. And do you remember when you wrote "You Are Beautiful"? Or
Yeah. Absolutely, you're beautiful. I was in London and I was walking down in the subway in the underground, like you have a metro here.
It's the same.
And I walked past my ex-girlfriend, and she had a new boyfriend, and I saw her. We looked in each other's eyes, but we didn't speak. We just walked past each other, and I thought, what would have been if I just stopped and said how I felt? Maybe my life would be different. But I went home and I wrote the lyrics in about 2 minutes.
Wow, 2 minutes for this song.
Yeah.
Wow. And you sold 20 million albums, maybe?
Yeah, thank God for her.
Basement.
Did you find something in common with Karl Lagerfeld? Something, the obsession for job, for example, or other?
There's things, and I always thought like he has lived it to an extreme, and I just had a glimpse or an idea of what he, must have felt every now and then. Like as an actor, I also know, for example, what it means to, the desire to be loved and appreciated and to be respected. Karl Lagerfeld wanted this also his whole life, He got so much pressure also from his mother, to prove that he could make it as a young German guy in France, in the epicenter of fashion, and to always be compared to this god, Yves Saint Laurent. So that hunger to be loved, so that I could totally understand. Also, I've been living sometimes moments in the spot or limelight, but never as bright as the spotlight on Karl Lagerfeld, not remotely. So he was a superstar, like an international pop star, and I'm not, but at least I have an idea. And also on the other hand, he was a very lonely man. I've also been to these places, I had some, periods in my life that were bluesier, and when I felt lonely, but thankfully I have a very, solid social circle, and now for a long time, a wife and a family and friends. But Karl Lagerfeld sometimes deliberately chose to go to the extreme solitude, and so there were some aspects that I could, relate to, that I could, connect with. And then again, there were many things that I had to make up or find out, through that character for myself, things that I haven't been through in my life. And that's also the challenging but interesting aspect of that work. If you go on, delicate, intimate paths that are unknown, because after reading the biographies and talking to good friends of his, there were still some, question marks, that I needed to find answers for, and and then you have to stick to the decisions and defend them, and I can only say that it happened out of a deep empathy, respect, and responsibility for the character.
Yeah, because he's an icon, a legendary icon, Karl Lagerfeld.
Yeah.
For example, it's crazy because last year, 1 year ago, in the same month maybe, Jared Leto was here in my podcast. And a few days before, he showed at the Met Gala with the cat dress for Karl Lagerfeld.
Yeah.
Karl Lagerfeld loves cats.
Yeah.
Chopette, the name of
exactly.
His cats. Are there cats in the movie?
Not yet, because that was before his
It was his
cat phase.
before his passion.
Yeah, exactly. So what we don't know is, and listen, nowadays these times are crazy and it's all pretty unpredictable. But when I was approached for that character, it was always clear that it could potentially be 2 seasons, so the journey could go on. So I'm pretty relaxed, because I learned to be relaxed, because to not get too excited. But in case that the journey would continue, it would be then Chanel, and maybe a cat would appear along the way. But no, but I remember that Jared also got some rights to, because he's also planning something on Karl Lagerfeld, which will be very different. So he would obviously do something very different with it. And I think there's enough space with Karl Lagerfeld to do various things, So I'm glad we did it that way, because also as an actor, you enjoy that series format, it gives you hours to explore the character, so
the movie maybe is not enough for
sometimes a movie, but it's great if he would eventually do something and it's a movie, because then it's something very different, and then it's more condensed, and it's in English probably, or maybe he speaks French, I don't know, but it will be something very, very different. And yeah, I mean, if we would carry on, I mean, that would also mean that I get back to work with, Arnaud Valois, the fantastic Yves Saint Laurent, Alex Lutz, Pierre Berger, and Theodore, my big love.
Yeah, I know. And during your career, often you play the villain role. For example, in Rush, I don't know if a villain. Niki Lauda is a hero, but there is
not the nicest guy.
And but in Rush, there was a big rivalry. But for example, in Inglourious Bastard, you are a villain. In Captain America, in Civil War, in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you are a villain. And in this TV show, are you more villain or hero?
Well, I was glad that also later on in the show you see his also darker side, because to me it always gives complexity, and it is, there's always evil in all of us, this is so, and it's a very human thing, and it comes out of a place that you then understand, because he is competitive, he has complexes, he wants to have success, he has so much pressure that then an evil side comes out, and a bit more a manipulative side of Karl Lagerfeld, which made the character only richer, No, for a long time in Germany, at the beginning, they tried to put me in a box of, Mr. Nice Guy after I did Goodbye Lenin very early on. When I started working, and I was very annoyed by that, because within Germany I only got the parts of the very sweet nice guy, and also I don't look very intimidating and evil, so I wasn't surprised, but I was annoyed, especially after I thought, like, it's been years since I've done this film. You cannot go on, always offering me the same thing. And it was the outside perspective. It was, I think Tarantino was the first who saw the evil in me and said, like, listen, you're going to be the nice guy at the beginning, but then you're an asshole. And I love that. I said, like, finally, finally. because And also my mom made a joke, says, finally someone saw the truth.
No. You're a good guy.
Kidding. She's kidding, yeah. Of course, I'm a good guy. No, but and then I was glad. Also, Kevin Feige, I remember the meeting that I had with him in London when he shaped that character of Zemo that I loved from the beginning, and wanted to shape it and make it mine. So we had a conversation where he was offering me that part and was asking me to give some ideas, you know, to change the character. I mean, I was meeting with Mr. MCU in London, and I was still young. I thought, like, well, great.
How old was?
How old was I? You? It was right after or during I shot during the shooting of Rush, so it must have been 2013. So I was 35 or something, and now I'm almost 46. So it's 11 years ago, and so I was so nervous when my American agent called me to meet Kevin Feige. I didn't know what it was about, and then we had breakfast, and he was so cool and relaxed, and he said, "I'm thinking of this character." And so, yeah, people would think he's a normal guy at first, you know, but then he's actually the super evil because he's so clever that he wants to destroy the Avengers without any superpowers, but just with his, you know, mindset, you know. And I thought, this is a brilliant idea, and I'm in, you know. So yeah, I've always been happy if people see something else and different in me.
Basement.
I started, you know, just my dream was to make a living off of my art, to be able to pay my bills, but I never, you know, and have a cabin in the woods one day and be able to afford vegetarian food in New York's East Village. That was my prayer. And I never dreamed of, you know, this. I always thought what I would give in terms of my art. Okay. You know, my photography, and not what I'd get. I started in galleries. I turned my friend's loft into a gallery. Now she has, 40 years later, a really blue chip, very high-end, amazing gallery in Chelsea. Yeah. But I took this living space and put an art show up of my early photographs when I was 21. And it was just what I could give the world, what I felt the world needed to see at that time. And I was thinking a lot about angels and thinking about spiritual things because so many friends were dying. It was the best of times and the worst of times, New York City. In the 80s, we had this incredible art explosion. You know, Jean-Michel Basquiat and Keith Haring. You'd see them, these were friends. Wow. These are people you'd see on the street. I worked for Interview magazine. From that first exhibition led to more exhibitions. People were not buying my photography so much then in the 80s, but definitely not mine. Yeah. So I was doing weddings, anything I could. But, you know, all those things taught me, even doing weddings, taught me how to work under pressure. You know, so I learned how to work under intense pressure and be calm while I'm working. So all those things taught me something that I applied to my photography. And then I started working at Interview magazine for Andy when Andy was alive. And, you know, because my whole life I was going to be a painter, drawing and painting my whole life. And then dropped out of school from just trouble at school, lots of trouble. Wow. So I left at 14, and we lived close to New York City. So I just kept going to New York until I lived there. And I stopped going to school at 15 and lived in New York, and because going to be a painter and artist.
It's incredible for us to hear you because these tales are incredible. The names are incredible.
Yeah. It was normal. It was a village. The East Village was a concentrated area of an art explosion with so much going on. And working for Andy Warhol at the Interview magazine, which was the most important popular culture magazine in the world, really, and you were in the center of it all. Yeah. Because every day you know, there's rock stars and actors and artists, and, you know, it was normal.
Yeah.
Everybody, you know, coming to see Andy.
In 80s, this is in 80s year.
Yeah, in the 80s.
In the 80s.
84 to 87.
Wow.
And then I did Andy's last portrait right before he died. He, you know, he was going in for just a regular surgery, and then he said, "I'm going to die." And we were all like, "No, you know, it's a very normal operation. It's simple gallbladder issue." But it was because of him being shot in 68, being an attempted assassination, that he had a lot of problems internally.
Okay.
But then the hospital made a big mistake, and he died.
And your first job was with Andy Warhol. You tell
my first job.
Your first job.
Regular job.
Yeah.
You know, where they hired me monthly to do photo shoots
For the interview.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you remember what is your memory? What are your memories about
Exciting.
him?
You know, one of my first assignments was the Beastie Boys.
Wow.
And they were not even signed to a record label. And we met in Times Square, just them and me and a camera. And it was just amazingly fun. Andy was very generous. He was funny. He was, you know, he's always depicted as a very aloof and detached. In fact, he was very interested, and he always wanted to know what us young kids were thinking. He always wanted to know what we were into. He wanted to know what we liked, and he would ask our opinion on things, you know. And I didn't model myself after him in any way, but I'm the same way in my studio. I'm always asking, you know. I remember an intern, you know, was working for a long time, but he said, "You know, David, my first day I was so shocked. He said, what do you think about this picture or that picture?" And I was editing. He goes, "I couldn't believe, like, he's asking me, but I want to know, you know, this is how you find out, like, what people react to. Because sometimes you can't see it, and you need other eyes. You may not take their advice." So I keep a very open, circus-like, and on my shoots, everyone can contribute. It's very loose. You know, and the more chaos going around me, the more focused I can be, you know. And I like this energy, music, and the music always sets the tone for the shoot. It tells the model, it tells the subject what the mood is without words. I just put the music on, they see the set, and then they understand.
And usually what kind of music you choose?
It's different for each mood, whatever mood I want. You know, if I want something sad and somber, I'll play Jeff Buckley, Hallelujah, Dolly Parton, Dear God, you know, Hello God, Hello God, are you out there? Can you hear me? No, I'll play this Bridge Over Troubled Water, Let It Be, that kind of music. If I want something very serious and sad. Otherwise, want high energy, you know, there's plenty of great stuff, you know. Of course, you know, I love all the 90s and 2000s, you know, hip hop and that, you know, that era, and disco, of course, you know, the classic disco songs, you know.
It was a
you
great.
You make me feel mighty real. Like, you can't sit still during.
In your life, with photography or other arts, you shooted the greatest artists in the story, artists, actors. I think that you have many stories about this.
Oh, there's so many stories.
Yeah, but I saw the iconic cover about Travis Scott, for example, or Eminem in the past, Britney Spears. Do you remember some things, or I don't think that you have your favorite? Maybe it's like a songs. Maybe I don't know.
I remember everything.
Yeah, everything. Yeah.
Will I tell everything? I probably I wouldn't work again if I told everything.
Okay.
But there's some things I can talk about, you know. You have any particular questions about?
Well, for example, you shooted Eminem in one of the best period of his life, in the prime time.
Yeah, he was just beginning, and he was so happy, you know, and he didn't even know he was going to be on the cover of Rolling Stone. He just thought he was there for a shoot, and it was a cover. And he was just so happy. He was rapping all day. And I remember asking him, I said, is it like M&M, like the candy?
Yeah.
Or he's like, no, it's E-M-E-M-E-N. And he was just singing all day. He was rapping all day. He was so happy. And then years later, I saw him at the MTV Awards. I was there, seated next to him. And I said, hey, remember me? And first he just was like, and he was, oh, because that's from the old days, you know? And he just jumped up and gave me this biggest hug. But there was a weight, you know, with that much fame, it's heavy.
Okay.
And I've seen people suffer, really suffer, you know, Whitney Houston, Amy Winehouse. I have so many friends really going through it. George Michael. You know, you ask yourself, Britney.
Yeah.
You know, you see these people, and I photographed Britney more than anybody else, any other photographer, and videos and all the rest, since the beginning of her career, her first cover to the last video. And I've seen so many like changes, and the weight of that type of fame is so enormous. And today, especially, you cannot get away with the social media is constant, you know, and the paparazzi is relentless, and the private life, people can't get enough of this, and people really love to see the downfall.
Yeah.
You know, they love to see they praise the star, Michael Jackson, and then they love when the crash. They love the scandal and the downfall. And we have to ask ourselves, why do we put people so high on this pedestal, worship them like religious figures, get tears, you know, see people crying. I would see people crying when I'd walk in with someone with Paris Hilton. I was like, you gotta be kidding. You know, they're like crying like they're seeing the Madonna. And then they love the crash. And they get really excited about this. Maybe it's because, oh, my life isn't so bad. You know, I can't pay my bill, I can't pay this bill, and that person's having trouble too, who is so famous and so rich and has everything, and they're having problems. Maybe they feel better about their lives living through them.
Yeah.
So first we live vicariously through them on stage and how fabulous they are and amazing, and then we kind of feel better about our own troubles when we see them going through troubles. I don't know what the psychology behind it is, but it's a very weird, we have to look at this, why we take such pleasure in people's suffering who we once worshiped, and that we enjoy. And I came to a realization that these stars, Whitney Houston, who I worked with a lot, these people gave more than they got. Michael Jackson gave more to the world than he received. You know, Whitney Houston gave more to the world than she received. You know, Amy Winehouse gave more to the world than she got back. And you wonder if it's a reverse, almost like a punishment from a past life. Like, you know, I don't believe in karma and stuff. I believe in, you know, I'm a Christian, but you think like, why would they be punished like this? You know, they're giving so much. Michael, imagine how many hours of dancing and joy he's given the world, and yet the world persecuted him, and he was completely innocent. Yeah. And you know, I've really studied this. I think more than anyone I know, I've studied Michael Jackson's. I've read every, you know, the transcripts, talked to the president of California Bar. He was 100% innocent. But I know in Italy you guys don't care so much about that, which is kind of amazing, which is really great for Italy that you're not into this cancel culture so much.
No.
Right?
No, yeah. But
is that true?
No, what? The
cancel culture. You're not doing
in Italy now the cancel culture is a big topic. Is a big topic. Yeah, not like in US. US is always more. But now in Italy is a big public
you love
topic.
A scandal here and everybody.
No,
you know.
Yeah. Everybody loves the scandal.
Then the scandal can run.
But the scandal engaged the social media.
Yeah.
Do you know Cicciolina?
Yeah, she DMs me all the time on Instagram.
Yeah.
Please the photograph of me.
Yeah, Cicciolina has to.
She DMs me.
Wow! And
we have a relationship on.
Maybe I think that many celebrities ask to him to photograph. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and that's nice
But something relationship was born in this way, or is impossible?
With who?
With maybe some artists send a DM?
Yeah, that's happened.
Okay.
That's happened through DM.
Basement.
You interpreted Sonny. Have you ever been so convinced about something, fight for it? If this is true, what was it?
Well, I think Ben and I were like that with Good Will Hunting early in our career. You know, nobody wanted that movie particularly, and we went from studio to studio trying to sell it, and we believed it was great and that it would make a great movie. And I think, like, you know, to any actors or writers, you know, or directors listening to this who are just starting out in their career, I think you have to be like that. You know, you have to, because at the beginning of your career, nobody believes in you. You have to prove to everybody that you belong there. Well, he was a huge part of my, you know, my teen years when he first came onto the scene, and then my early 20s, he was playing for the Bulls. You know, he was going on that. He won the 6 championships. So he was a huge part of my teen years and my 20s. You know, he was the biggest star, probably still is the biggest star on the planet.
Also, like inspiration, or?
Yeah, for sure. And that's from, you know, I lived in Boston where the Boston Celtics were, you know, the only team. You have to root for the Celtics, and everybody did, but they still were fans of Michael Jordan because he was bigger than the game.
It's true that you wanted to talk to MJ, to Michael Jordan, before creating this movie?
Yeah, I mean, I would never make a movie that even used or talked about his shoe or his name or certainly his family. He's not in the movie because he's just too iconic. Yeah. You know, you try to put an actor in there. I mean, the reason why he's who he is because he's unmistakable and unique. And the minute you try to convince an audience that somebody else is him, the whole illusion falls apart. But just out of respect and admiration for the man, I had to say, you know, would you please do me the kindness to sit down for a minute and just tell me, like, because I gotta, you know, compress it, I gotta make changes, I gotta combine things, but you the only one I care about, making sure you approve of this. And what is the, you know, I don't want to say it's his movie. I don't want to take anything out of his pocket because he's not advertising this and we're already using, you know, his story. And I don't want to say, oh, Mike's telling you go see this movie. He can speak for himself. But I asked him, what do you care about? What matters to you? And what mattered to him was Chris and Marlon and Viola. And that's what gave me the opportunity to work with those actors, because I know they wouldn't come work for me. I've been asking Chris to work with me for 20 years. It wasn't until I was like, Mike wants you to do the movie, that he said yes.
Did you remember how your mom reacted when you started your career? Did she support you?
Yeah, she was very supportive. My mom and my dad were very supportive. They didn't want me to do it professionally when I was younger, so I had to go to any professional auditions. I had to go on my own. But they wanted me just to do theater, and they wanted me to go to university, and they didn't want me to be a professional actor when I was like 16, but I really wanted to. So I was auditioning for everything and going to New York by myself and with Ben, and we'd audition for stuff, and so that was really like the early years. But they were very supportive.
Everybody loves your bromance with Ben in the world. There is a similar relationship between Phil and Sonny. Do Ben and you fight sometimes, and for what reason?
I don't think so, when it comes to creative stuff or stuff we're working on, we'll have strong feelings about something, but we'll defer. Like if he has a really strong feeling that, no, the scene should go this way, I'll do it that way just because he might be right, I think when you work in collaboration, I think you have to go in with some humility and say, I probably don't have all the ideas. I believe in my ideas, but I just know from experience that you can believe you're right, but you can learn something from somebody else. You can learn a better way than what you came in with. And that's the real joy of filmmaking, is when everybody is contributing and suddenly you have this thing that's better than all of you, right? And it's something that everybody added to, and it becomes something that you all share together, but it's not the vision of one person, it's the vision of everybody.
There are a lot of motivational quotes in the movie. Which one do you prefer for your personal life?
We had that line, a shoe is just a shoe until someone steps into it. And it was actually Viola at the end. We had shown her some of those scenes, and she added that line for herself. When she says a shoe is just a shoe until my son steps into it. And that was all Viola. That was her idea. And so I think that Ben and I, the minute she said it, we went, oh, that's such a good idea. and the way she delivered the line, I think that's my favorite one in the movie. I've met him a few times over the years.
Wow.
Yeah, just randomly, and always really liked him. Obviously, you know, he's a hero of ours. But I didn't talk to him before this movie. Ben talked to him at length before the movie to try to figure out, hey, what's really important to you that we get right in the movie? And that's where he talked at length about his mother and how pivotal she was to this whole experience and to his life. And Ben said it was amazing because, you know, Michael's a very intimidating guy, you know, in person.
Yeah.
And
He's not friendly. He's not friendly guy.
no, he is friendly, but he's a, you know,
Yeah.
he walks into a room and the room changes. You know what I mean? He's got an amazing energy,
yes.
right? And Ben said it was the one time he'd ever seen him with that kind of look of reverence in his own eyes when he talked about his mother, right?
Okay.
Which was really cool.
Perfect.
So we wanted to try to show
Yeah.
that in the movie, how important she is to him and how important she was to him at this time. And that's really what the movie became about.
Last but not least, I absolutely have to show you my basement because here there are a lot of reference to the movie.
For example, many sneakers. Okay, one. Back to the Future, Nike mag from Back to the Future. Okay,
Awesome.
and then this is my place. This is my headquarters.
Damn,
Do
you got a
you know
whole man cave
Ashbula?
up.
Ashbula is another guy. Do you know
That's what I'm
Ashbula?
talking about.
And
Hey,
here,
man.
the same shoes like that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what we talking about. One, baby, that's it.
Yeah.
Oh,
The-
wow, you have them.
Yeah, I have it.
Oh, man. How long have
Like-
you had that?
This is a release from 2015. Not the first one.
Wow.
Not the first one.
Yeah. It's the re-release.
Okay.
Yeah.
Basement.
Remember who called you the professor for the first time?
We had an announcer. We had an on-court MC. His name is Duke Tango on the N1 mixtape tour.
Yeah.
Do you remember N1 at all?
Yeah, I saw him during the Netflix series.
Oh, you saw the doc.
Yeah.
So there was a guy on the mic. He was like,
Yeah.
"Oh, baby." I think he narrated the doc
Okay.
in the beginning.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's an OG. He named Escalade. he might have named Main Event. He named like a lot of the legends.
Okay.
So he gave me my name. He said I was schooling people on the court. And I think my look, it fit the professor. You know, I used to comb my hair to the side and stuff. So, yeah.
But a great moment, great memories about that period.
Yeah, when he first named me, I was like, do I even like that? I was like, the professor? Like, what? You don't know how to absorb,
Yeah.
I was just processing, you know what I mean? He gave me the name, and then
It's perfect for
it's
you.
perfect now. Later,
It's perfect.
it sticks, right? But
Yeah, it's perfect. What is your best skill, in your opinion?
Best kill?
Your
You meant possess, like cross him? You know, one time I crossed a dude up, he broke his shoulder.
yeah.
Literally, it's my biggest video on YouTube. It has 80 million views. I sidestep up fake someone between my legs, between his legs, snatch it back, and he like he reached for it and he stumbled and his shoulder came out the socket.
Wow. It's
So
crazy.
2 plays before that though, I crossed him and he hit the ground. I think he's tried to stabilize himself with his hand. When he hit the ground, he might have loosened up his shoulder. So then a couple plays later, he threw out his shoulder. It was a funny day, but that's my biggest vid on YouTube.
Yeah. Wow.
So that one sticks out in my mind, but I had some good ones. I don't know. That's good. One time I did one, I crossed the dude up and he hit the ground, but like he didn't get to stabilize the legs or arms. He just hit his back on the ground. It was like hit the pavement like dumb loud. Like it was great.
But how many hours you training for your freestyler performance
These days?
these days or in the past?
Well, in the past, you know, when you're young, you could just do anything. All day, every day, play basketball. I was really a hooper first, entertainer second. Like, when we were on N1, we consider ourselves just all-in hoopers. You know what I'm saying? After the N1 era, then it became more entrepreneur. Then when my social started getting bigger, now we do a vid, it's a full production. You know what I'm saying? Even though we're playing real ball, but it's like we got 3 angles, sometimes 4. I got 2 security guards there. I got 3 or 4 loose hands for crew. Because at the end of the day, like we found that a basketball vlog is dope, but you need a story. So like in order to brigade that story, you need a lot of help.
In the NBA history, what is your top 3 NBA player for the ball handling?
I gotta go with Allen Iverson is in my top 3 because he may have not had as big of a bag, like not as versatile as some other players on the handle, but that move, bro, that killer crossover, it's like part of my basketball DNA. And also, like, we never seen a move like that in a long time, right? That move was crazy. Like, it was game-changing. So, AI, Kyrie Irving,
Yeah.
the handle's stupid, you know what I mean?
Yeah, me too.
His bag is so deep. Iverson was on Shaq's podcast. You saw it?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
well,
recently,
2 weeks ago.
Recently, yeah.
I checked out the whole episode. I loved it because I love Shaq too. I actually know Shaq also. But they were talking about it, and even Iverson said that Kyrie had the best handles of all time, which I thought was interesting because I always said they were like similar because AI's move was Kyrie don't have a move like that move. You know what I'm saying? Like like he don't move you 5 feet. He ain't dropping folks. You know what I mean? But his bag is crazy. Like, and then he's an amazing finisher also. But his handles is nuts. Yeah. He just like plays with people. That's what Iverson said. He said he'll shake you up, bring you back, play it some more. You know what I'm saying? And then go again.
And I mean, Allen Iverson first, second Kyrie Irving.
No, I'd say you got to agree with what Iverson said, right? I'd say Kyrie Irving's bag is the deepest.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
So he's got to be there. But I'm trying to think who is third. Who is my third? It's got to be between Jamal Crawford, Jay Will,
White Chocolate.
Jason Williams was crazy. CP3 and Steph Curry are both really good. I'm probably forgetting a couple, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. There's old school cats like Pistol Pete. You know, Pistol Pete walked so we could run. You know what I'm saying? Like
it was a different era.
Yeah, that's why eras are hard. I think eras are always hard, and people always say that eras are hard to compare. But I think that one thing they don't say is if Pistol Pete was raised in our generation, it would have been crazy. He was already crazy back then when people weren't even thinking about that fake behind the back. Pistol Pete, right? He did that in the NBA game. He faked it. You know, and then Jay Will did that in NBA later. But so a lot of guys walked so we could run. Even Isaiah Thomas for the Pistons.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? He went between the legs in a game. But people don't even know that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it didn't look as pretty, right? Because it was a different time. But if he was raised today, like Isaiah Thomas today, is crazy. That game would be way more complete. Because you couldn't even put your hand on the side of the ball back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And the period are different for that kind of player, but also for the GOAT debate. Always Jordan, LeBron James. What do you think about this?
The GOAT debate. I think, man, you know, recently I had some new insight on this because somebody asked me in a live interview in Australia, like who the best player was of all time. And I said Michael Jordan. I still think it's Michael Jordan. And then I put Kobe over LeBron too because of the skill level. I feel like Bron is he's the best athlete though. He's the best athlete of all time. Maybe not like jump like Jordan had no more hang time, but the fact he's so tall, he's like Goliath, you know what I'm saying? And he's so athletic. I watched a lot of video on Kobe and LeBron's matchups like throughout their whole career. I watched these full games and highlight mixes that showed their missed shots too. I will say Kobe and Jordan's game was real similar because I watched a bunch of their matchups too, right? I was just studying the GOAT debate. Like I did a full study for like a couple days, you know what I'm saying? No, I found out some interesting insight that I think is very accurate. When Kobe and Jordan faced off, they're very calculated players, right? They're triple threat. They have it kind of down to science. It's like how I do moves. Like based on how the defensive stance, I know there's a bunch of options. I know which ones, right? Their post game is very calculated, right? LeBron is not he's almost chaotic, but he's so athletic it don't matter. And then he's becoming a great shooter, right? He's like he's a great shooter now. Yeah. But when Kobe and Jordan went hand in hand, like they did their thing, kind of how they always do it versus everybody, and they're effective. But when Kobe matched up with LeBron, he couldn't score on Braun how he did everybody else. He had to do it like a different way, like higher arcing weird shots, a little more off balance, a lot of quicker just pull-ups instead of operating. The post game wasn't quite the same. So that matchup with Kobe and Braun, it was actually a little bit ugly. Like Braun, he was doing good too, but it was like he wasn't even scoring like he does. It was he posted up. I was like, you know, he posted up back in the day. You know what I'm saying? He shot an ugly floater, but then he was on the fast break getting it off. So I actually think if Braun and Jordan faced off, it's similar to that. Jordan, he had to score a different way. Like Braun's too big for Jordan to score the way he scored.
It's clear.
So I think the Braun being in there is a great debate. Also, I think if Jordan and him matched up, it'd actually be an ugly game. I don't think he'd wipe Braun down. He could in some game. They would face off a bunch of games. But actually, Braun would make it interesting. And Jordan have to score a different way.
It's clear. It's clear.
So I don't. Some people just say it's hands down Braun. I don't believe that. I don't believe it's hands down. Like Jordan's run was so clean and like he had the best run, right? Like it's just his game was water and you knew he was gonna win. The repeat, three-peat.
No, a great career.
It's actually really hard to say, and I think if they all matched up, it's all ugly matchups. Like it's, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That's how it is with me. They want me to play like another street ball player, NBA player, and they think it's gonna be like NBA Street. We're gonna just be doing moves. You know, the truth is, it's gonna be ugly. It's gonna be an ugly game. Because
ugly is the difference.
Yeah, because you're waiting on those moves. Not that we're not gonna get moves off, but if I play another street ball player who's known for all that, it actually is probably gonna resort more to regular basketball, and it's gonna have to get physical and grimy. That's the truth. You know what I'm saying? Because he not going for that move. I ain't going for no moves. You know what I'm saying? I mean, very few. You know what I'm saying? So we resort to the basics.
It's clear.
It's clear. Funny how it works, though. That's the real, though. I'll be honest. Like,
I know. Thank you for the answers.
For sure.
It's a perfect answer. But for example, I love LeBron James, but I know that the Michael Jordan career it was unreal. It was unreal.
You know what it was, and you know what I say is too. His game was like water. You know what I'm saying? Like it was so smooth, and there was so much finesse, and he made people look bad. And he had to hang tight. It was like pretty. It was prettier, right?
Yeah.
Like more even than Kobe. It was a little bit more calculated. Kobe, something like quadruple pump fake. Jordan had to do all that.
Have you met Kobe?
Yeah. I got a picture of this one if you Google it. We met for 5 minutes at a Panini trading card photo shoot.
Yeah.
And I was too young, and in the moment I was meeting A-list celebrities every week, so I didn't like value the moment like I would have. Like now if I met him, we got to get a number, man. Let's get up. You're in LA? Okay, cool. You know what I'm saying? Like I would have approached it different.
Okay.
So I was looking at like a kid, like, oh, how's it going? Okay, cool. Yeah, that's what's up. It's good to see you. Let's get this flick. All right, have a good one. Yeah. It was that quick.
Yeah. It's quick. It's usually during this NBA event or commercial event, it's always in this way.
Basement.